Today we're taking a stroll down section 3 of the Green Link Walk. This is a walk, if you've not seen my last two, that takes its way from Epping Forest down to Peckham through 40 green spots around London and highlights the greenery and the pleasant natural side of London, which you often miss when you're rampaging around London visiting places or jumping on and off tubes. We're starting at Angel Station in Islington, working our way down to St Paul's. We turned onto Duncan Street and into Duncan Terrace Gardens. Don't turn left as I did originally there. I've turned back around, I've gone right. And we walk along Duncan Terrace Gardens. It's a very pleasant walled garden in the centre of this. It's effectively a square. Probably in Victorian times this would have been called a square, like Berkeley Square, but this one's a gardens. And gardens because it's open to everyone to pop in. We walk across here. Now the next garden, the review that was given on Jauntly is walk down Goswell Road. You'll see Owen Fields, nip in if you like, a small but tranquil park. Well, I obviously got here at the wrong time and the sixth form college next to it had just opened, and tranquil was not what I'd call it. It was very hectic. So strolling down the side of the gardens, we down Owen Street, and then we head towards St John Street just ahead of us, and crossing over, bear left, and then we walk down Chadwell Street. You can see Angel Islington up there to the right. We're going to head off down all these back streets. And now you can tell you're in central London, although it's back streets, it's still very busy. And there's the obligatory construction works. I don't think I've ever done a walk that goes through central London without having a diversion or some huge building works. There's always a new tower block, always a new road layout. But we're heading down now Middleton Square, spelled with a Y, and St Mark's Church, beautiful church there with an interesting churchyard. But we're ploughing straight on and we're heading on to River Street and keeping going down that. We turn into Lloyd Baker Street at these shops here. And another square up ahead, Lloyd Square. It's another pleasant central London square. Nice place to sit and read a book or enjoy a bit of shade. But then there's a very hard left here down the alleyway, which is quite hidden. And to the right there was a sunken gardens, which you can get into. It's not particularly obvious how to get into it, but you can. Pleasant little sunken garden, I'd say almost always in shade. And then down into Fernsbury Street before crossing over Marjorie Street crossing and Wilmington Street, and we head up Marjorie. Apparently Charles Rowan House here was designed by Gilbert Mackenzie Trench, who also designed the Blue Police box, which we might see one. I think we go on the wrong side of Postman's Park on this walk, but if you watch section 3 of the Jubilee Walkway, we actually go through behind the old Museum of London, and next to the Guildhall there's a Blue Police box there. They're basically a small phone box, a stand that you could open a door, pull a phone out and speak to the police to report something before the times of mobile phones. We're heading down Wilmington Street and into Merlin Street, across to Wilmington Square. It's a pleasant little park with a bandstand. I had a little stroll around before continuing down Tyso Street. All these back streets that the locals know. There's plenty of businesses here, a lot of houses, but you're sort of on the edge of central London here. Still greenery. And now into a very confusing road. Tycho Road seems to loop all over the place. Is it left? Is it right? No, it's keep going. No, it's to the right. It was rather confusing. This is the same road all the way down, even the bit on the right there, even here. The whole section's called Tycho Road. And on the left there, it's Three Corners Park. And there's a church with a crypt and some cafes. For here we're turning down into Clerkenwell Green. Very quaint little spot with some of those iconic red phone boxes. Walking past that pink building on the right, we're looking for a little alley which is just here. And I've got to say, doesn't look much like the picture that they have on the Jauntly app. If you've not got the Jauntly app, if you're thinking of going for a hike around London, it's a good spot. Now here I suddenly realise where I am. If you were to turn right, you'd get down to Farringdon Station. This is St John's Square, and ahead of us is St John's Gate. Has a close association from, well, it was built in 1504 as the entrance to Clerkenwell Priory of the Knights of St John. And there's actually a museum here that traces the history of the Order of St John, which became St John's Ambulance. Let me know if you think we should do a museum visit here. And William Hogarth lived here, and actually Samuel Johnson worked for a magazine called the Gentleman's Magazine here. We turn right down towards St John's Lane, and ahead of us here you can see Smithfield's Market. It's very active in the early morning, although I believe it's due to close soon. If you were to turn right down Cowcross there, heads down towards Farringdon Station, or if you turn to the right just before Smithfield's Market, that's where the new Museum of London's being based, and it's still a very busy construction site at the moment. But you can walk through Smithfield's Market any time of the day. It is locked, the bits where the actual trading occur, but there's a lot of, it's a famous meat market. Straight out of there, this square has this hidden away this little church here. It's actually, well, the church is where William Wallace had his memorial service centuries later, but just here on the square is a plaque for William Wallace. He was actually executed at this spot. Where the garden is in the centre with a car park hidden underneath it was actually one of the places of execution in London. He was hung, drawn and quartered, and his head, his arms, his legs and his torso were sent to different spots around Britain to remind people the price of treason. I believe his head was tarred and hung from London Bridge. We're heading down Little Britain, a very thoroughly modern series of streets round here. It's fairly striking architecture. Start to sneak a view of St Paul's, which is sort of the end of this route, although it does cross over to the Tate Modern. And to the left there is Postman's Park. Again, if you see the Jubilee walkway video, I think section 3, we went in and checked out Postman's Park, where there's a memorial to people who've selflessly given their lives to save others. A little oasis of calm in the city. Here's Christchurch Greyfriars Garden. The church is long gone, but where the nave used to be, it's been preserved as a public space. And crossing over, and we turn right down here with very iconic view of St Paul's. If you were to turn right, you'd get into Paternoster Square, but we're going to go straight ahead. And although everyone thinks of St Paul's either the view from the river or from the front with the statue of Queen Mary, actually if you go into the gardens and walk around the side, it's a pleasant little garden which is often quite quiet, and there's a statue. It's actually the column of St Paul. That's the Paul's Cross Memorial statue. As we head down the back of the cathedral, so the cathedral's to the right of us, St Paul's Cathedral School is to the left of us, and we're heading out onto the open parkland here. Some beautifully groomed lawns. The building opposite there has a beautiful sundial decoration above the door, which I always like to stop and have a look at, but we haven't got time today. Heading down, you see the beautiful view of St Paul's. Tate Modern is ahead of us, just on the other side of the Millennium Footbridge, and back there on the right was the statue. It's a memorial to the firefighters from the Blitz, because if you see how many modern buildings there are from this stretch all the way back up to, well, I was going to say the Guildhall, but on this particular walk, Postman's Park, say, everything from there down to where Tate Modern is, apart from St Paul's, pretty much 90% of the buildings were so badly destroyed they had to be demolished. The whole swathe through London with just St Paul's miraculously standing at the end of the Blitz. And we're finishing with a brisk walk over the Millennium Footbridge. Millennium Footbridge opened in 2000 to, I guess, commemorate the millennium, but the first footbridge across the Thames since the Hungerford Footbridge near Embankment Station. And Tate Modern, I think, third most popular museum in Britain now, and something like fourth most popular art gallery in the world. So well worth a stop off and a visit, and I'm sure we'll be doing a museum tour there soon. But for the meantime, please like and subscribe, and do come back next week. We'll be finishing off the Greenleek Walk with another suburban stroll down to Peckham, through Elephant Park, Burgess Park and the Old Surrey Canal. Can't miss that.